everybody sees and wants to have.
He actually has a coarse coat.
Once the
Generally,
cat's
they're
come out,
very
people
soft.
Well,
Extremely soft. This is one of the harder
This is her
coats.
first time out, so I'm kind of letting her chill.
that's well, all right. I'm impressed with your dedication and the more scientific, if it's a proper term, approach to it, because I think that's great that we have that kind of commitment in a breed. I'll have to admit I was less than turned on when I first heard about it.
I'm still a little creeped out by them, honestly.
Well, I understand.
I adore them, but when you see one sneaking down your hallway, it can be a little shocking.
From Tika's standpoint, Tika has basically in the cat world stood for something new. Probably the growth of Tika is directly related to the growth of the Bengal breed. And the Bengal breed was not well received in most of the other associations. In fact, there are some associations that still do not recognize the Bengal. However, Tika is quite the opposite. They're willing to accept people that are working with a breed like this. But I'm impressed with the dedication and, as I say, the more scientific approach. I've known Leslie Lyons and worked with her a couple times. She recently moved. I don't know whether you knew that. And she is a world-renowned geneticist. She has worked with the cat world quite extensively. And most of the cat people that have been around for a while has heard her name before. Those things are all very positive for a breed from my standpoint. Regardless of what the breed looks like or anything else, an approach such as this with the background knowledge of genetics is, in my opinion, is the proper way to go. And I certainly would have changed my opinion more so about what's going on with this breed. I'd seen pictures of them, but I had this the first time I've seen some in first place. So I want to comment and thank you for your dedication and your approach to the breeding the breed. I did not realize when Gloria mentioned that we were going to have some Lykoi, that you guys were kind of a focal point for the breed, and that's great. So anyway, let's get one of the cats around, and then if we have we've got about 10 minutes for questions from you guys. If you've got questions about what's behind the breed or anything else. Once again, I, like yourself, am quite fascinated with the genetics in cats, and this is a great opportunity. I also know that to find the genetic makeup of a breed is quite difficult. It's time consuming. We went through it with a problem which turned out to be autosomal recessive in Maine Coons. And it took close to 10 years for us to be able to identify exactly what it is. And the people that will do this kind of work will tell you that it's a lot of luck because they don't know exactly where to go to look for something or anything like that. But I'll shut up here again. I'm not supposed to be pontificating here, but again, I want to thank these two people for coming and talking to us.
Yeah, we'll be up in all the rings, preliminary new breed.
Yeah, we'll be around all day, but I want to...
It's actually not a preliminary new breed, it's a miscellaneous. I don't think, were they?
No,
they were accepted.
Unanimously accepted.
I apologize. I thought it was a miscellaneous, but okay, great.
We are preliminary now. That's where I was going to go. With preliminary new breed, we have 18 breeders worldwide. One in every region of Tika except for South America and Asia.
Just haven't got any good cats.
Haven't got a cat to them yet. We got 25 standards. Of all those 25 standards, I think 21 of them are still in the program. Either they were not in the program because they weren't big enough, or something else happened, or we needed some show cats placed so people could actually start showing. We have, I think, 28 outcrosses right now, which is the black ones that look like a normal cat. So that's where we are. I plan to, if the group follows the path we've been following, we plan to breed the outcrosses to get more Lykoi, breed Lykois to domestics again, form more outcrosses to take another generation away, so we're at 0% inbreeding at that point, and then all those Lykoi born can be placed as breeders. We're going to have a little inbreeding at that point because we have a small gene pool, but it's going to be less than 6%. In fact, I think it's going to be less than 4%, which I think is very acceptable. So,
and then we also just added...
We added a new line.
Texas line. I just picked one up in South Carolina, a little female. She's actually beautiful, one of the most beautiful. Normally when we're getting the natural mutations, they're a little bit, you know, they're not raised in a good environment, they're not fed good diets. Their moms are usually street cats, so they're not very pretty, you know. And we are seeing a difference in the ones that are fed well. Their coat is a little bit nicer. They can keep a coat a little bit better. But she's very pretty. And then one from out west as well.
From your standpoint, do they shed once a year?
Well, they shed throughout the whole time, but they will blow your entire coat once a year.
And they also
blow
seem to
their whole
do it
coat
when they're
once a year.
hormonal. When that female reaches, you know, sexual maturity, and the male is about the time the male starts spraying, he also loses his coat.
Sure.
So
She's 7 months and she's blown hers completely once over.
Yeah. Now we have seen some of the older ones that's from closer to the foundation not get a full coat back or not blow their coat again. But again, we are only 3 generations away
and we
from our
did
first
those
foundation.
original skin biopsies to find out what was going on with these cats. What they found is that the follicles that should have grown an undercoat lack a proper balance of components to create one, so they are unable to create an undercoat. And then the hair follicles that create the guard hairs or the outer coat, those lack the proper balance of components to keep it. So while they can make a coat, then they lose it, and then they make it, and then they lose it because they just can't keep it.
But they don't seem to lose it all ever, not like Don's
Would you
boy.
talk, obviously, one of the main things is the coat, but talk a little bit about structure. What are you looking for in the structure?
Well, we have standards we're going to hand out to the judges. The structure, the actual structure is only worth 20 points based on the Tika.
But what is it supposed to look like?
He's a little big. This is probably more ideal.
I guess from the judge's standpoint, I'd be looking more what defines what the head should be.
All right. Her head is pretty good. Well, honey, you take over there.
Oh, what?
With
It's her first
the head
time out.
description.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We want hairless ears and a hairless mask. That's the most important to our standard because that gives them the werewolf look.
It's a modified wedge, so it should be slightly longer than it is wide. So when they kind of look at you, there's that angle. The ears should come to a slight point at the ear tips because once again, we still want that very wolf-looking appearance. They do have a pretty dramatic profile. You can't see, she'll turn, with you see the bump kind of that at the end, it curves down. Okay, that's normal. This is her first show, so she's a little bit still figuring this out. There we go.
All of us that have brought our pets up for the first time know what a first show
As for a
is.
show,
No, I mean, as in the whole new breed, you're saying you've been breeding it for a while. How many Lykois are there? Individuals?
Total.
25, there's 25 standard worldwide.
What do you mean by
And
standard?
then
This color.
we also have
This color.
tuxedos
We
and
have
blues that are
tuxedos
not
and blues. There are about 18 of those. Those are all spayed or neutered and in pet homes. Well, except for a couple that's still floating around out there, but that's neither here nor there at this point. And then we have
But
about,
we're shooting for this werewolf
yeah,
look.
and we have about 28 blacks that carry the gene. That's worldwide. That's what we have.
Really?
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
far the eye color, you can see he has a very dramatic gold color. That is, eye color is a big thing to us. She has nice gold eyes. This guy has a little bit greener eyes, but he is still young. He's about 6 months old. So it's still developing. But so far, all the Lykoi that have come out of one of the Lykoi have very, very dramatic gold eyes.
What breed would you say comes the closest to the head structure? Looking at
That's a tough one because I don't see enough cats
Okay.
to answer that one.
He doesn't go to.
When you are working on your presentation to the board, one of the things you'll want to concentrate on is what does the breed look a little bit like?
Well, we're learning that as preliminary new breed from our judges too.
Yeah, that's
We were
what the
very blessed.
judges are gonna want.
Would you say that somewhere between you can mix a Turkish Angora and a chartreuse head?
Wow.
Something like that, where you would have the upright ears and we're looking for that werewolf look, right?
Yeah,
Basically, we sent pictures of the founding male, the original Lykoi male that had that wolf appearance. And Nancy Parkinson was actually not a fan of the Lykoi,
Yeah.
and we brought him and said, we want you to look at them. And she said, I like them. And she said, let me help. So we sent her those pictures and said, these are the things that are important. They have sparse hair on their ears. They do not. They have a mask. Those are very important. If they get coated there, then you lose that wolf look. So we gave her the emphasis on the things that really matter to us, and she was kind enough to create
the standard.
Yes, and then right now we're taking notes as we go to each of these rings, and the judges make comments, or if we see an emphasis put on something that we didn't really matter to us, the tail links or something like that, then we're going to go back and edit the standard as we go. It's a learning process.
We've actually edited it once. The first show that Lykoi was at, it was in Kansas.